What does it take to bring down Superman? Dan Jurgens and other writers find out. I discuss this and more on today's episode. Welcome back to Around the Weird, a booktube channel where I talk about all the unusual and out of the ordinary literature that I found in my travels. Today I want to talk about a comic book graphic novel that I read, a collection of comic books, one that focuses on superheroes and death. I am referring to The Death of Superman by Dan Jurgens, Jerry Ordway, Louise Simonson, and other writers, which was written between 1992 and 1993. For those who don't know, I'm going to talk mostly about Dan Jurgens because I don't know who the other writers are. I don't want to catalog all of them. Dan Jurgens was the main writer on this. He's an American comic book writer who has been writing for Marvel and DC since the 80s. Very well-regarded career. Dan Jurgens wrote both the Death of Superman arc, in which they finally kill off Superman, which many people have felt was a publicity stunt more so than anything else. And then he also wrote the Reign of the Superman arc, which would bring back Superman and so quickly too. And he had a part to play in other arcs, and I think he's even done consulting work for more modern writers. So very interesting. Very happy to finally get to this because it's a well-regarded Superman story, even if it does have its problems. I picked it up from my local library. Don't forget to patronize your local libraries. They might have interesting comic books and whatnot. But without further ado, let's talk about The Death of Superman. I will do a summary, a little bit of analysis, and we will move on from there. So The Death of Superman focuses, of course, on Superman, the savior, hero of Metropolis, but it begins by focusing on Doomsday breaking out of he's a huge monster man of unknown origins at this time, breaking out of a lab and causing destruction on Earth. Meanwhile, Superman is fighting underworlders, basically people who live underneath Metropolis and want to get to the surface world to cause a lot of destruction. He manages to defeat them, and then he ends up going on an interview with Cat Grant, talking about the new Justice League that's formed, as well as other things about the process of being a hero and whatnot. And at the same time as that interview, the new Justice League is called over to Ohio, of all places, because of a destructive force that's moving through Ohio. The Blue Beetle and the Justice League attempt to defeat this monster Doomsday, but find themselves overwhelmed. Superman is called to Ohio to participate and finds the Justice League completely wiped out from this fight. But Superman engages in a fight with Doomsday, find that he isn't making much of a dent, and even with the combined force of the Justice League, destruction is still happening. And eventually the fight begins to move its way towards Metropolis, where people are being attacked and whatnot by this Doomsday beast. He begins destroying parts of Metropolis. There's a lot of explosions, and Superman finds himself exhausted, knowing that if he doesn't put an end to this now, he might never be able to stop Doomsday. And he exerts a huge force to stop Doomsday, manages to kill Doomsday, but also he dies in the process. Lois Lane cradles him in her arms as he's dying, very sad by all of that. And that's really the end of it, but there is also more here, including some newspaper articles about the death of Superman and other things like that. And that's really where the story ends there. In terms of analysis, Jurgens and other writers give us a lot to think about. One of the themes that they're working with here is the new unstoppable threat. The Jurgens introduces an unstoppable monster to rival Superman. There's been a lot of hero or villains in Superman's past that have proven a threat to him, but he's always been able to stop them in some capacity and save the day, or come back against them and save the day on the second fight or something like that. But there's never been like someone to pose a huge threat to him in the way that Doomsday did. Doomsday is able to counter everything that Superman does. Like Superman tries to take Doomsday to space to just yeet him into the cosmos, but the monster wriggles free and continues fighting him, and is just making its way to Metropolis to continue to destroy and kill anything in its path. And not only is he able to counter Superman, but Doomsday is also able to destroy the Justice League. Like, they're all shooting lasers at this monster, and it's shrugging it off like it's nothing. There just seems to be non-stop violence and destruction left in this monster's wake, and Superman becomes increasingly worried over the course of the comic, or of the story. There's like visible exhaust on his face. You can see blood all over him. His suit becomes tattered and torn. There's wounds. It's a great visualization of this new unstoppable threat. And ultimately, Superman is able to win and kill Doomsday, or maybe he thinks there might be more Doomsday down the road. But there's a great cost for Superman, which is the fact that he's dead now. Superman has died. And so the question is, what kind of monster hurts or kills a bulletproof superhero like Superman? In creating Doomsday in this way and presenting this story, you've firmly established Doomsday as an iconic character that can rival Superman. As a force to be reckoned with. They might have weakened Doomsday in subsequent installments. I don't really know for sure. I haven't followed the Superman stories in that way. But here, Doomsday is presented as a real, tangible threat. Nothing can stop him. So the fact that he was able to kill Superman, you don't just waste that on anyone. You wouldn't have Lex Luthor kill Superman. Even though Luthor is probably capable of doing it, he's not powerful enough. But someone is super powerful, kind of setting it apart from the other villains, but also showing how Superman, not even him, he can stop it. So there's a lot of seriousness in establishing this kind of threat, which I really like about this story. Destruction is also a huge part of the death of Superman. The artists do a really good job of showcasing the aftermath of these huge fights, and even the destruction in these huge fights. There's explosions, there's broken vehicles, there's wounded heroes. So one of the heroes is even in a coma. There's a bunch of fires taking place that Superman has to try to extinguish. It's thrilling, and it's an incredibly tense situation, adding even more to the Doomsday mythos, because he's causing so much destruction and violence in his wake that it's leaving scars on the land, and it's a real knockdown brawl of fights. It reminds me a little bit of Nightfall, not only with Batman facing Bane and getting his ass kicked initially, but also the fight that takes place between Azrael, who's pretending to be Batman, and Bane, where they cause an explosion in this factory that they're fighting in. It really highlights the animosity that exists between the two. Again, also the animosity of between Superman and Doomsday, with Doomsday just being this fearsome killing machine that only wants to hurt, that only wants to cause pain. So that the similarities there, which I think were written at around the same time, and also kind of explains why Batman isn't there, is wonderful, and it really adds to the story even more. It's not destruction just for destruction's sake, or violence sake. It's all there for the purpose of building up Doomsday and also providing a real threat to Superman. There are a number of questions I have by all of this, including one, where is Batman? I think at the same time he was paralyzed from his fight with Bane in the Nightfall storyline. I don't know if the timeline exactly syncs up there, but that might be one explanation. But I do feel like they kind of took Batman out of this, because if you have Batman and Superman fighting against Doomsday, they might be able to stop Doomsday working together. Whereas if you take Batman out of the equation, you create a bit of a bit more of a struggle. So I don't know what's going on with Batman there. Maybe someone can tell me in the comments below. But there's another question in that. Is this story undermined by the fact that Superman returns like a couple of issues later. Like they weren't really committed to killing off Superman. They just wanted to show what it was like if he was gone. But they quickly brought him back in a way that suggests that this was all a publicity stunt, just a way to get more eyes on the comic books, which they did in fact manage to do. But there's a section at the end where Lois is cradling Superman, and it's a very emotional moment to see Superman finally dead. So the fact that Superman returns, does this undermine all of that? Like, is it all for nothing? And I haven't read that particular comic. Hopefully I'll be able to get to it soon. But I want to say no, mainly because all of this is still here. Like, it's still a powerful moment when Superman dies, and I don't know what comes after and how many more encounters he has with Doomsday, whether Doomsday comes back. But I still think it's interesting and fascinating, and you still have this story and these emotional moments, even if you do know that Superman comes back later. But I might have a different opinion once I read that particular set of comic stories. Anyway, those are my thoughts on The Death of Superman by Dan Jurgens and other writers. I really enjoyed it. I highly recommend that you go out and seek this out. It's a pretty good volume, pretty good set of comic books. The art is majestic, as you've seen throughout this video, really adding to the overall emotion and magnitude of what's happening. If they had just killed Superman off very quietly or something like that, I don't feel like it would have the same impact. So, go seek this out if you can find it. Again, I found this at my local library, so you might be able to find it at yours. Otherwise, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so that more people can find out about this particular set of comics or these writers if they don't already know. And until then, I wish you the best of luck in your weird and Superman killing travels. Farewell.